We're back at it again with another Battlefront update. The last few days of August and summer break, well, at least here in Canada, are upon us, and today is when the latest major update for Battlefront 2 has been dropped. While I'm sure many people rushed to quickly download it as fast as possible, DICE did also release their patch notes for the update finally. So in this video, we're gonna be quickly going over those, as there are some good changes being made that most people won't notice straight away, and of course in addition to that, we've got a lot of other cool stuff to cover in today's video, such as data mine leaks regarding potential future content that I'm sure a lot of you won't want to miss. And before we get into any of that, but a quick reminder, as if you do like these type of videos, then do remember to give it a like to show your support for not only this update series, but also the content within it. With that out of the way, let's get into it. Starting out with the patch notes for the August update, which by the time this video is out, then the update should be available on all platforms. Funny enough, the first thing the patch notes tell us is that DICE are calling the August update as the Roger update. I'd imagine this is because this is the first update in a long time to not feature any new clone appearances, but rather for the first time ever we'll be adding new B1 droid appearances. We already covered what appearances those will be in the previous video, along with a lot of the other new content this update will be bringing, such as new HvV maps, capital ship interior changes, contextual spawning, and of course all the changes for the health on kill star card replacements for all the heroes. The August patch notes for the most part simply regurgitate all of that information from the previous community transmission. And while I get why DICE are doing this, I'm simply going to skip it, as I already did a 20-minute long video going over all of that before. However, with that said, there is a new section in the patch notes that does go into some of the new changes that are seen in the Roger update, which for starters are some pretty cool hero changes that came out of community requests. These are the following. All heroes except for Bossk now gain health upon defeat as a passive ability. Heroes will now be receiving 20 health points for defeating troopers and 100 health points for defeating heroes. Jump gravity and speed has been improved for Bossk, General Grievous, and the BX Commando Droid. Audio from cancelled emotes will continue to play unless interrupted by an enemy's ability such as freeze or pull or through action. And DICE have also added a UI bar indicator of the enemy hero's stamina. And that one I can already see as a controversial addition by DICE, as I think it's a smart addition for instant action to see the stamina for AI heroes, but for online multiplayer, I'm not too sure. I always felt that by not knowing how much stamina the enemy had was a big part of the experience where you needed to choose between playing it aggressively or safe. And to remove that aspect now is really taking away from the immersion factor pretty badly in my opinion. Again, it's fine for offline against hero AI, and heck, it's also nice to see your teammates' stamina too. But I'm not crazy about DICE forcing it into online multiplayer. And this is coming from someone who doesn't even like or plays HvV mode that much. So I'm very curious to see what actual hardcore HvV players are thinking about this addition. Is it good or is it bad? I'm sure it has its advantages and disadvantages, but I'm interested to hear what you guys have to say. Following with the rest of the patch notes, we also have some made specifically for lightsaber heroes. The first is now having lightsabers not turn off on their own while heroes are sprinting, only when toggled off. DICE also fixed several other bugs in the following areas, where lightsaber heroes could lose their blocking stance when falling from small heights, where a lightsaber hero would be unable to block when being shot from above by an enemy with a blaster, lightsaber heroes causing to deal damage to a blocking enemy who is standing behind them, where a lightsaber attack on a blocking lightsaber hero would occasionally not trigger FX and SFX, and where the lightsaber would occasionally not turn on when hero goes into blocking or attacking mode after sprinting. And yeah, talk about the last one being a major game changer here. One of the best bug fixes out of the whole bunch without a doubt. Now I personally never ran into that bug myself, but I can seriously see people rage quitting after losing a hard-earned hero because their lightsaber wouldn't turn on, yikes. Let me know down in the comments section if you actually experienced that bug before, as I can't imagine it was pleasant at all, so very cool to see that they finally fixed this here. One neat little addition coming back to HvV is the return of the announcer droid. Since DICE's last major changes to the mode, the announcer droid was removed as the previous voice lines didn't really work or match with what was happening on the screen, and well, changes to the mode in general. However, the announcer droid is back and will now properly work with the updated HvV. Not only this, but a whole bunch of really funny and cool voice lines have also been added for all the heroes, with my current favorite being a reference to Kenobi and the Death Sticks from episode 2.
Kenobi brings the death sticks.
With that said, there are also smaller miscellaneous changes being made to the UI and the impact color of the combat shields, which is nice. However, DICE also at the very end made it known that there are still some bugs that weren't fixed in time for the update. One of them being with General Grievous, where he's still very much affected by pushes or staggers during Claw Rush if a related ability is used at the same time Grievous uses Claw Rush. And while this wasn't included in the patch notes, but Benoit did later today mention that DICE will be making an additional quick change to the health of the Dreadnought's final objective in Capital Supremacy, this time lowering it from 15,000 to 12,000. I'm glad tweaks like this are made whenever possible, but I'm still not sold on this change itself. I'm gonna have to try playing this before deciding if I like it or not. But that will just about really do it for the patch notes here, as next I want to go over a rather interesting recent tweet from Dennis in regards for weapons. Now without a doubt, the whole weapons debate for Battlefront 2 has been something ongoing since 2017, with players angry to this day on why DICE have still not added any new trooper weapons as they promised in the game promos. Now DICE for the most part has remained rather coy on this subject, until more recently Benoit in July said that according to DICE's survey, weapons are considered to be low on the priority list as people apparently don't really want them, at least not over new heroes, reinforcements, appearances, and etc. However, recent details have been uncovered that there's also another reason on why DICE are reluctant to add any new weapons, and that's all because of the current weapon system in the game. When a few people asked on Twitter regarding DICE's logic for locking out era-specific weapons, which in turn results in less weapon options for everyone, Dennis responded by saying, "Yep, the trooper weapon system is very stupid. It needs an overhaul before we start adding more stuff to it, making it even worse." And before we continue, Dennis did elaborate later that by stupid he means from a development perspective, rather than a balanced gameplay one. It's possible they didn't design the system well, and so they have to now redo it in order to be able to add new weapons. And that's the problem DICE now find themselves in, as I'm sure they would have loved to add new trooper weapons to the game ages ago, but the system they made for it back in 2017 wasn't designed for that. Just like the original progression system that shipped with the game wasn't very good and required DICE to spend months to overhaul it, now it's looking like this is the exact same case of the trooper weapon system. So if DICE want to add new weapons, then they'll have to dedicate all their time and efforts to reworking an entirely new system that'll let them do that. And considering DICE still have a relatively small team working on the game, then they'll have to stop working on everything else in order to get this done, which in turn will see us get several months of absolutely no new content whatsoever. Basically the same story as we witnessed back in early 2018. And that's the big dilemma here. Are we okay with DICE taking a few months off to rework the trooper system, meaning we get absolutely nothing new during that time just so we can later have a system that allows new weapons to be added? Or do we leave it as is, forget about ever getting new trooper weapons, but keep enjoying consistent content updates each month? So yeah, it's definitely a hard call to make. That's something I'm going to leave you all to answer in the comments section below, as I'm sure everyone will have a vastly different opinion on this. Moving on to some cool leaks made in the recent update, but a few people have already been able to find some rather neat datamine discoveries. The first datamine discovery is credited to Fake Mophead, who's a very known dataminer in the community. This time, they were able to find an audio file for the new HvV droid announcer that is listed under as HvV Intro Crait. Of course, not only is Crait in the name of the audio file, but the announcer refers to the planet by saying, "Do you like your catastrophes with a dash of salt?" Better yet, I'll just play you the clip right here now.
Do you like your catastrophes with a dash of salt? Then deactivate those empathy protocols because today is your lucky day.
Now for those unaware, but DICE originally made a special HvV map for Crait that was in the game files since forever, but for whatever reason they never did put that map to be playable in HvV. However, with this new audio appearing that is obviously for Crait, then well, who knows? Maybe, just maybe, DICE are planning on releasing the Crait HvV map in the coming months. If they do that, then I'd love to also hear their excuse or reasoning for why they never released this map that was done way back in 2017. Moving on, but another person on Reddit called Rupture13 was also able to find 2 brand new appearances for the BX Commando Droid. Yeah, 2 new appearances, and they're called Captain in Training, and from the looks of it, they're kind of incomplete, but that makes sense. This is most likely going to be part of the reinforcement appearances that we're due to get sometime later in the fall. Considering the BX Commando Droid is getting new appearances, then I'm willing to bet the ARC Troopers may get some as well, as the default ARC appearance is not something I'm a big fan of, so I'm very glad to see this. Maybe we can get a Rex or a 5's appearance for the ARC Troopers, as I'm not sure, or at least I don't see DICE giving us a Rex hero anytime soon. So a Rex ARC Trooper appearance would be the closest thing we'd get to having Rex actually in the game. As for the BX appearances, then I'm kind of surprised DICE decided to make a training appearance for them rather than the classic separatist look from the show with the blue elements. However, with that said, because this is all still incomplete stuff, then I'm sure DICE will most likely maybe end up working on it later. But a new audio file and reinforcement appearances weren't the only things datamined in the latest update, as another Redditor, Faint Melody of Light, was also able to find both the co-op and the instant action modes available in there too. However, do keep in mind that these are heavily in work progress versions and not ready for a public release. Faint Melody of Light was actually able to load into a game of co-op mode where Naboo was the only map that actually worked. In the datamined co-op mode, the clones are attacking unlike the Gamescom build. Each sector only requires one objective to be captured to progress. The palace interior is accessible, although lighting is said to be very buggy and clearly unfinished. There are end-of-round cutscenes, but apparently the animations are, like you guessed it, unfinished. Unfortunately, AI did not spawn as it is dependent on the server-side Capital Supremacy AI. As for instant action, then Faint Melody of Light says they weren't able to load into it, but from what they have seen in the game files, it does look like the AI count is indeed 20 per team. As of right now, only about 14 files exist for the AI in the mode, and a lot of it seems to be, again, unfinished, and very dependent on the server-side Capital Supremacy AI. But of course, both modes should be good to go for the September update. Next, while this is rather small, I did think it was interesting enough to at least point out. But a lot of people in the community have started nitpicking DICE's Clone Commando, and it's not the way you think they are. And by that I mean people are complaining that because of the missing texture detail on the Clone Commando's backsides, then it kind of looks like they're wearing an adult diaper. And yeah, it does sound like nonsense at first, but one person even compared DICE's Clone Commando model with the commandos from the Republic Commando game. And yeah, you can see there is a difference there. The commandos from Republic Commando had some more detail and lines on the butt, whereas the DICE version is clearly missing these and gives the look of them wearing instead a diaper. And yeah, I know, once you see this, you can't unsee it. Fortunately, the Clone Commando isn't due to come out until September, so DICE have plenty of time to still fix this issue. But then again, I think they maybe did, I don't know, maybe, because while it wasn't shown in the pre-released build of the game, it does seem like DICE may have already done some work in that area, as it seems the Commando from the updated teaser video has detail on his butt, which is missing from the Commando footage we've seen thus far. So at the very least, it is looking to be a promising start for this, especially for all the people who were annoyed with the diaper commando look. However, is this enough to avoid the diaper look altogether? Well, to answer that, we're just gonna have to wait and find out. But that'll do it for this Battlefront update. And as always, if you enjoyed this video, please like, share, and subscribe to the channel to not only support it, but keep up with Star Wars news, gaming, and canon lore released every week. And consider following me on Twitter and Facebook to never miss out on the latest Star Wars content. Thanks for watching, and may the Force be with you.